3, so Trump can't get sworn into office. If Biden actively starts a world war as the sitting president, Trump won't be able to become the president because Biden started a new world war. And it says in our Constitution, if a world war is happening, the sitting president will remain the president. But I'll let this guy explain it to you more in detail.
You want to know what one of the #1 headlines in America today is? What is Diddy eating for Thanksgiving dinner in jail? As we are literally on the brink of Armageddon, other countries are passing out flyers and pamphlets with instructions for what their citizens need to do in case a nuclear missile drops on top of their heads. They're literally building bunkers and all types of stuff as we speak in these other countries, getting ready. Meanwhile, over here in America, half of Americans are only worried about whether or not Diddy is going to get cranberry sauce on Thanksgiving.
For real.
And by the way, the entire Diddy case has turned into a complete joke. And it's nothing more than a useless distraction at this point. And maybe I'll put out a video explaining all of that in the future. But right now, we have some real news to get to. Because boy, oh boy, the world is on fire right now. There's so much going on. It's getting hard to keep up with. And we are getting really closer to someone pressing the button, folks. And that is no exaggeration. And I will tell you why in just a moment. But first, we have a few stories we need to run through. Because like I said, the entire world is getting ready.
Oh, my headache. Oh, fuck, I got a pounding
New
headache,
alliances are being made, deals are being hashed out, and plans are being written up for World War III. I'm talking full-scale conflict.
I think there's another China virus over here.
Involved, troops on the ground, all that nonsense. Yes, it's in the works as we speak, but
oh, here's the Christmas lights.
Japan actually just signed a new defense deal.
I was wondering where the fuck this was.
Italy and Japan, they signed a defense deal in Rome,
it's closed off.
aiming to streamline military acquisitions, supplies, and emergency aid coordination. This deal is called the ACSA.
There might be a back door.
The Acquisition and Cross-Service Agreement.
Hold on.
This deal is meant to strengthen ties between the two nations, which are also partners with Britain in the GCAP project, which is basically a project centered around a new generation fighter jet that they're expecting to have cranked out by the mid-2030s. Now, you might remember in one of my past videos, I told you all that Japan is starting to be concerned about being invaded by China. You know, the world is paying attention to the Middle East with Israel and Gaza. Now, of course, we're all paying attention to Ukraine again, even though it seems like that was on the back burner for over a year now. Now that's the topic of discussion. But a lot of people don't realize, you know, what's going on right now between China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Japan, and of course, Taiwan. Tensions are at an all-time high. China's upset about some of the U.S.'s military movements in the area. China is trying to claim that some of these small islands belong to them, and the U.S. is trying to build military bases on these islands. China wants to build military bases on the islands as well, and China has been getting real upset about the relationship between Japan and the U.S. because we're very tight right now, and we got all types of military equipment in Japan and troops, and you name it. So that's heating up as well. It's just that people aren't really talking about it or focusing on it. But if you ask me, that's kind of more concerning than the Middle East and Russia, because
I'd say so.
I think we're looking at an entirely different situation if China gets involved, especially in that part of the world when the rest of the world is already on fire. But trust me, we got a lot more to go through. Germany, as I was explaining earlier, other countries are already building bunkers and
Why aren't we doing that
safe zones
here?
and stuff like that, coming up with plans. Germany
There's
has
no way
now
to get in there, that
planned to
light display?
expand civilian shelters
There's gotta be a
over
way in
security
there.
concerns with Russia. Germany is developing a proposal to increase civilian shelters
Son of a bitch,
by
there's only one
converting
entrance.
basements, underground car parks, and subway stations. They are also developing an app that will guide citizens to the nearest bunker in the area in which they live.
You hear this shit? Why are we doing this in the USA?
79 public shelters.
Because we're the ones giving Ukraine the weapons.
480,000 people. But civil protection groups are calling for a faster expansion due to the...
Is Blue Chew okay to use these days?
Oh my god, fuck!
Taking chewables
Oh my god, I got a pounding headache. Holy fuck, that hurts.
Man's wrist.
No.
I'm ripping up this. I was ripping up some rug. I think it got to me.
And get exclusive new deals every day. Toys your cat will love.
Ongoing war in Ukraine, and they want to include facilities for up to 5,000 individuals. So they want to have these bigger shelters. So Germany is basically trying to create even bigger shelters that can house up to 5,000 people in one of these shelters at a time. And I just want you, us Americans, listen to that number. Germany has 579 public shelters.
You hear that?
In case something.
Why don't we have that?
And they're going to have an app that will tell you, listen, if you're in the area, here's where you need to go. Here's the shelter nearest you. My question to you all is, where's the shelter nearest you?
For real.
If God forbid,
I think the L,
nukes start dropping,
they came here to Chicago, I would run under the L. I think the L subway tunnels would be the best place to hide.
579 public shelters.
Or if you're lucky enough.
I can't.
Or if you're lucky enough to have a bomb shelter
in America.
It's going to your bomb
maybe
shelter.
You can. You guys live in other places. But down here in my neck of the woods, ain't no such thing as a shelter. You're SOL. You're going to be on your own if something bad happens. But this just shows, what the rest of the world is preparing for.
Why aren't we doing that?
As the preparations are being
Joe
made,
Biden's a piece of shit. That's why.
Urging NATO members to avoid any red lines when it comes to Ukrainian aid. So France is trying to tell America, Germany, all of these other countries in NATO that they need to get rid of their red lines. They need to get rid of the red lines altogether and just give Ukraine whatever they want.
No, we shouldn't.
No limits. It doesn't matter.
We should if anything, we should help Russia take some of Ukraine so they could cut this shit out and we can quit giving them ballistic missiles and millions of fucking dollars. It's stupid. I'd like some money. Why can't we get the money? Why are we giving all of our money to fucking Ukraine? Because Biden's a piece of shit.
Called out Germany, and they're calling on all of these countries
they need to
get
beach
rid of
his
their
ass.
lines, give Ukraine whatever missiles and stuff they need. And here's where things get really bad. Because the Biden administration is supposedly considering getting rid of red lines for real. So much so. And this is where things get really scary. I honestly didn't even see this one coming. They're discussing giving Ukraine nuclear weapons. As we speak, they're discussing giving Ukraine nuclear weapons.
No, don't do that. That's going to get a nuclear weapon from Russia shot at us. Why would we give Ukraine any nuclear weapon?
What do you think happens?
Right, and I don't blame. Hold on.
There is no other.
If Putin got attacked by nuclear weapons from the U.S. that we gave to Ukraine, honestly, I wouldn't even be mad at Putin for not shooting a nuclear bomb at the U.S. because if I was Putin and I said, wait a minute, you're giving this country fucking nuclear bombs and you just hit us with a nuclear bomb, I'm going after you, Ukraine, for shooting the bomb at me, and America, I'd be going after you for giving them the nuclear bomb to shoot at me. I'll let him finish explaining.
Scenario, this ends with nuclear war.
Right.
And these people do not care. They are sleepwalking us right into it, and they're doing it on purpose.
Like, subscribe, share, by the
as
way.
they
Hit thumbs
line
up.
their pockets, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know that Ukraine used to have nukes. And I know all about
Okay, but they
deal
don't have
that was
them. They don't
made
have
that
them anymore. They
US
used to, he said.
Russia and these other countries were supposed to protect Ukraine if they gave up their nukes. That's a story for another day. But right now, I want to dive into this article because this is some really scary stuff.
It is. He's right.
U.S. officials discussed giving nuclear weapons to Ukraine. U.S. and European officials have discussed a range of options they believe will deter Russia from taking more Ukrainian territory, including providing Ukraine with the nuclear weapons. The reports say that Western officials believe the Kremlin will not significantly escalate the war before Donald Trump is sworn in as president in January.
But if Joe Biden escalates the war to a point of where we give Ukraine nuclear warheads and they send one of those nuclear warheads at Russia, honestly, I think what he just said is off the table, in my personal opinion. You guys hear it? Comment if you can hear it.
Following the election of Trump earlier this month, the U.S. and its NATO allies began taking steps to rush weapons to Ukraine and give Ukraine the ability to strike targets inside of Russian territory with long-range weapons.
Don't do that.
American officials who were briefed on the intelligence community's
hey, can you guys see that?
Say that
it's Joe Biden with the nuclear bomb going off saying, I did that.
That Ukraine is currently facing. U.S. spy agencies have assessed that speeding up the provisions of weapons, ammunition, and material for Ukraine will do little to change the course of the war in the short term. Desperate to bolster Ukraine's standing in the war before the transition of power on January 20th, the Biden administration is looking at a range of serious escalation.
Sickening.
U.S. and European officials
Why are we not impeaching Biden before he starts fucking World War III?
Guarantee for Ukraine, such as stockpiling a conventional arsenal sufficient to strike a punishing blow if Russia violates a ceasefire.
What about
Several officials even suggested.
What about if Ukraine violates shooting a nuclear bomb that we gave them in Russia?
That Biden could return nuclear weapons to Ukraine that were taken from it after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Wait,
Ladies
what?
and gentlemen, as I was reading through that article, at the time of this recording,
I got confused.
News just broke that Ukraine just struck Russia again with more long-range missiles.
What the fuck? That we gave them.
When they did this the other day, we saw how Russia responded with that. They say it may be an ICBM. I don't know what it was. Some type of crazy new missile that Russia is testing out. And now Ukraine is poking the bear again.
Yeah.
Now Ukraine knows what it's doing. It knows that the more it strikes Russia with these long-range missiles, that they don't necessarily have to worry about the response as much now, because now Russia is looking at a bunch of different options, which includes not retaliating against Ukraine, but retaliating against one of these NATO bases throughout Europe. And more specifically, they're really eyeing Poland, this one base in Poland. So Ukraine knows that it is dragging the world further into this war.
Straight up.
And that's the only way Ukraine wins. Ukraine doesn't win on its own. Ukraine's only path to victory is dragging the rest of the world into this conflict.
Right, and no, it's not.
I don't know if we have a path to victory. And we have plenty of military experts, folks. They do little drills and simulations and stuff like that all the time. And more often than not, during these simulations and tests, we lose the war to Russia. We lose World War III.
Pretty much.
Okay, I want you all to keep that
especially
in mind.
Especially if Biden stays president.
As well. But considering...
If that shithead stays president and starts World War III and he gets to stay as president because it says in the Constitution, if a world war is active, this shithead would stay president until the war dies down. It's in the Constitution. Maybe I'll make a video where we go over that. But let's let him finish talking about this.
Ukraine nuclear weapons, folks, that's the end of the world.
Straight up.
There's really not any ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the end of the world. That's
Real.
how we know it. It's not like
They need
they're
to
gonna give
impeach
Ukraine
Biden before he
nukes
does
and
some stupid
everything's
shit
good,
like that.
Everything's okay. No. You have the world's largest nuclear superpower. And you're talking about giving Ukraine nuclear weapons to strike at them?
Right? They're probably
And
not even
if
as good
the
as
two
fucking
were just
Russia's
to keep
nuclear
it
weapons.
contained and just hit each other with nukes, that spills over. And we're looking at all of these countries around Russia and
Even
Ukraine
Alaska,
and
they might
Ukraine
shoot a
just
nuke in
coming.
Alaska,
And we
Russia,
have
and I
it.
wouldn't blame them, honestly. If
So
I was
there's no
Putin,
scenario where this ends with.
if I was Putin and a Ukrainian fucking nuclear warhead entered my country, hit my country, and that was given to them by America, I would put Alaska on the table too for shooting a nuke back if I was Putin. Honestly, I'm really surprised in Putin, and he's honestly. Thank you, Putin, if you ever watch my YouTube. Thank you for not killing us all, because what that shithead Joe Biden is doing, honestly, you're showing major restraint, because you could have very easily flattened Ukraine to a pile of rubble with what Biden did by giving the authorization for Ukraine to use this long-range that's capable of carrying nuclear warheads, missile, and shoot it in their country. And he just even said another one. They just shot another one at the country as he's making the video. Which was made, I don't know, a few days ago, earlier today.
Right now, the people pulling the strings, at least with NATO, they want this conflict.
They do.
They want it, and they want it bad.
The Democrats want it.
And what we're witnessing right now is they're trying to provoke Russia into making
hit thumbs
some
up if
sort
you
of
agree.
move that they can use for an excuse to finally put boots on the ground and get more directly involved. But NATO needs an excuse. NATO wants to look like the good guy here. So they're going to continue provoking Russia.
Yeah, straight up.
Just like they just did with more long-range missiles. And knowing that they're having discussions about giving Ukraine nukes.
It should not be a discussion.
It's pure insanity. It makes no
And
sense
he's right.
at all unless you just want the world to turn into dust. But you let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up.
Comment what you
Subscribe,
think
ring
in
that
my
notification
comments
bell,
below.
And hopefully, the world's still here. And I'll be talking to you all soon in the next video.
I agree with him.
Are you on TikTok?
No, but I do
Fuck
know
TikTok.
is
The Chinese run that
Wait,
shit.
Do you mind if I invite you to join TikTok and register as a new user?
sure, but why?
Because I
Where
will
am I
get
going?
$40 coupon on TikTok Shop for any new user that I get to sign up.
Okay, so if I invite my friends to download TikTok and register as a new user, do I also get a $40 coupon?
Yes, and the more friends you invite,
Is this a
the
new
more
kid?
rewards you get.
Oh, it's a new Captain America movie. That's cool. This is so good. I just thought about that. I should not play this. This is so gonna mess up my video. Maybe if I talk periodically through the video, it won't fuck with it. Or I should have started another video, maybe. Or I just shouldn't play this video right now. I don't know. Comment what you want me to do, 7 viewers. Somebody wants me to put on a different video. I guess I'm just gonna have to do that. Let's show what you guys want to see about. Let's see what they say about the UFOs that Congress recently admitted to being real.
And I just want to convey this to you. On USG networks, there exists infrared footage of and imagery of...
This is an actual hearing. Let's see what the date is on it.
A massive collection at night in a specific area of the Pacific Ocean. This footage, which was in close proximity...
19 hours ago, but it might be a repost.
...triangle UAP suddenly appears directly over the ships. These three bright...
Oh, they're talking... Yeah, like last week, the U.S. government and the Senate basically admitted aliens and UFOs are real. Whether that aliens might have, they said are, whether they're AI, artificial intelligent aliens, like, and there's no biological life, or they're biological. They admitted there's some type of alien force out there. Even if the whole saucer ship is just AI and there's no fucking alien inside of it.
Eastern Air Defense Sector, an F-22 fighter observed multiple UAP contacts.
I'm just repeating what that the U.S. government basically admitted in this hearing shit.
Smaller than a sedan, hovering in place. Upon vectoring towards the UAPs, a smaller formation of the metallic orbs accelerated at rapid speed.
They're admitting it. Well, just tell us fucking, is it AI flying the UFOs, or is it fucking, is it AI, or is it fucking actual alien beings?
3 to 6 UAPs.
We know y'all got them in Area 51, just tell us already. Maybe Daddy Trump will tell us if the aliens are real.
She's not looking. So let's just get into, let's get into part of this.
I thought I would be safe by that.
No. Let's talk about Kunian, Lakatossian type of scientific development. And the problem that we have here is you have institutional blockage of what would be normal development.
Let's get more into it, where they talk more about the aliens. I've never seen this, but it's my first time watching it.
An intellectual thought process.
Gotta speed this up a little, they're talking too slow. Oh, on my videos, when you watch my videos, if you want to speed it up, just go to settings, playback speed, and then if like there's a slow part in the video, you can speed it all the way up to 2 times faster.
Artificial intelligence, ML.
That's what I do with that one at. 1.75, that's too fast. I think 1.25 is good for that, how slow they're talking.
I can assure you I probably can't ask you.
For me, you got to do 2 times the speed with how slow I am.
And Mr. Garcia did a few closing remarks.
And I know we're about to get votes here, so I'll be brief. Just, I want to thank you all.
You'll be brief.
I want to thank Chairwoman Mace especially for holding this important bipartisan hearing.
Yeah, there's UFOs and we got no idea what they are.
I think our commitment
Make it brief,
to
bro.
all the folks who have contacted us, and certainly to the advocates of the pilots, is that we need to continue investigating UAPs. I think the country owes explanations and ensure that the safety and national security is always protected. This is a conversation and questioning that must continue, so I'm very grateful to all of you. And I also just want to add, just personally, I think it's really important for me, 2 things guide my questioning and my observations on UAPs. One is should always be guided by facts, science, and data, and stay serious on those issues. And the second thing is I think that we should not limit our imagination and our thoughts and our curiosity on what UAPs could actually be. And I think those 2 things for me are really important, and I'm grateful for all of you to be here. So with that, I yield back.
He yields back.
The Five Below Black Friday reveal coming November 29th. Shop this gift drop early or miss out big.
Another fucking commercial. This is why you don't update your apps unless they force you to. If I didn't update this, it would only show one
we have Mr.
commercial.
Ogles, who is on the way. He's going to be here any second.
Or if you can install like an older version of the app, that's always a thing positive. Based on your knowledge of aliens, in other words.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hodgson, I absolutely
Or flying saucers.
inside the building. And the reason why I posed that question, and this has been one of my talking points from the beginning, is Oak Ridge within Tennessee. The so-called weather balloon that drifted every now and then control, it passed near Oak Ridge. It obviously is a sensitive site. But
Talking about the weather balloons now, can't hear it.
Because we know that at military
The Chinese weather
at
balloon?
sensitive locations, such
I think
as
they asked one of the
cities,
guys, like, hey, was
cities,
that aliens?
the question is, do you believe they cause irregular activity, and why might they be doing this? Sure, in some cases, it's actually regular activity. You'd be surprised, we've actually documentation right now that's been submitted. It's not just Oak Ridge, it's Savannah River site, SRS, it's also Los Alamos. A lot of our sensitive RV locations appear to be under some sort of surveillance and monitoring. Why? Well, because a lot of innovation comes out of those areas, a lot of new technologies, a lot of, if you will, disruptive technologies that we use.
Like, subscribe, share, by the way, hit that thumbs up.
Out of those locations.
Are you guys enjoying what you're watching? Can you leave a comment?
So if I was
You want me to put something else out you guys are interested about, or are you all good with the UFOs?
Sure, and again, this is one of my talking points. I do have questions. What role might the Department of Energy or its subsidiaries or affiliates have in this type of technology, or possessing this type of technology?
So now he's asking them what type of, what do they got? Do they got spaceships?
Please reiterate.
Let's see what he says.
Was a threat to pilots?
Yes, sir. I absolutely. They were threatening Navy pilots.
They were threatening the Navy pilots, the UFOs.
It's my understanding they're risking pilot safety from commercial and military today.
Well, considering, and I understand that
UFOs
there's a need, in some cases, to keep certain technologies secret. But you believe that it is posing a threat to our personnel, correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah, he says the UFOs are posing a threat to our planes.
To our personnel who are serving our country faithfully,
True.
that there be oversight.
100%, Congressman. And in fact, that's the one thing that we've not talked about enough during this hearing is the fact that the government, the executive branch, not sharing with Congress what it knows about UAP infringes on your legislative and oversight responsibilities to such an extent. That's very concerning. I mean, what else are we... If you look at national security or intelligence or foreign affairs or appropriations, you all have oversight and legislative responsibility regarding those. This UAP issue may be the greatest issue of our time. It's being hit from you.
Well, I mean, and to your point, I think we've seen over the decades that we have certain adversaries like China, like Russia, that technologically speaking are not as advanced as us, that they lack some of the lethality that we have, and that we've seen that they've gone after our technologies and in some cases succeeded, in particular with missile technology. And so again, my concern, whether this technology emanates from us or otherworldly, that we know that we possess it. And where is the accountability? Where are the stopgaps? What are the guarantees that if this were to fall in enemy hands, that it isn't immediately weaponized against us?
See, now he's saying, what about, basically, what he just asked there was, so basically he said, okay, so if we do got our hands on UFOs that is advanced technology that are aliens, whether they're aliens that live deep under the sea or far away in space, basically what he just asked was, do any other countries possibly have a crashed UFO in their property, and are they going to get the technology from it? That's basically what he just asked.
Out there. The question is it ours? Is it someone else's? Or is it otherworldly? And Madam Chairman, I would posit that as the legislative body, as the regulatory body, we must know. And anyone who prevents us from
yes,
getting
we must
access to
know,
that
I
information,
agree.
I would consider that criminality.
Yes, it is.
Because we have U.S. personnel who may very well be in harm's way.
For real.
We have technology that
about the UFOs already.
With that, Madam Chairman, I thank you for your indulgence, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Ogles. And with that, without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and to submit additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses for their response. If there's no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
Oh my God.
Good morning and welcome to today's historic hearing, which I'm co-chairing with Mr. Grothman, whose subcommittee held an important hearing on this topic last year. I want to thank my colleagues on the Oversight Committee, including Mr. Burchett, Mr. Burleson, Ms. Luna, Mr. Moskowitz, Mr. Garcia, for their relentless drive to get answers on UAPs. They've been steadfast in demanding transparency. Witnesses will please stand and raise your right hands.
Now, these are witnesses that actually saw UFOs.
Do you solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We appreciate all of you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the
let's hear these
witnesses that we have read your written statement.
He reports.
Oh wow, that sounded interesting. Whatever the hell he was talking about.
No. And that elements within the military and the IC are in violation of their constitutional duty to notify Congress of their operations. President-elect Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama
Donald
have
Trump.
both said that the
2024,
government has
we're back.
information about UAPs that it has not released. There are other explanations for UAPs than that they represent a new form of life or non-human life. Current dominant alternative theories, including those put forward by Arrow, are that UAPs are some kind of natural phenomena we don't yet understand, like ball lightning or plasma. They could also be part of some new U.S. or foreign government weapons programs, such as drones, aircraft, balloons, CGI, hoaxes, or birds. Whatever UAPs are, Congress must be informed, as must the people of the United States. We have a right to know what UAPs are, no matter what they are. However, we now have existing and former U.S. government officials who have told Congress that Arrow and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft. One of those individuals is a current or former U.S. government official acting as a UAP whistleblower. This person has written a report. This is the report that says the executive branch has been managing UAP, NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades. Furthermore, these individuals have revealed the name of an active and highly secretive DoD unacknowledged special access program, or USAP. The source of that document told me, that the USAP is a strategic intelligence program that is part of the U.S. military family of long-standing, highly sensitive programs dealing with various aspects of the UAP problem. The new UAP whistleblower claims that the U.S. military and IC database includes videos and images taken using infrared, forward-looking infrared, full-motion video, and still photography. The report that was just shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent USAP that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence and measurement and signature intelligence of UAPs, the whistleblower's report adds. The sources of this intelligence are a blend of directed and incidental collection capabilities, positioned in low Earth orbit, the upper atmosphere, as well as military and civilian aviation altitudes and maritime environments. The report to Congress details in detail various UAPs, including spheres, orbs, discs, saucers, ovals, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular organic. The report describes various incidents found in the human intelligence databases. One involved orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from a high altitude of 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, or aircraft carrier. And since my reporting on this Immaculate Constellation last month, another source came forward who told me that they saw a roughly 13-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait. It was filmed from a helicopter. Then halfway through the video, the person said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into the frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame. The person discovered the video on SIPR, the Secure Internet Protocol Router Network, which the DoD uses to transmit classified information. A leading UAP researcher who utilizes the Freedom of Information Act to find out what the government knows, John Greenwald, told me last year that the U.S. government had been increasingly denying his request for UAP information. He has been doing FOIA requests for 27 years and has an archive of 3 million pages. The government has for decades denied any interest in UFOs, he told me, but the documents that he has assembled show that behind the scenes it was a completely different story. Contrary to the hopes of many advocates of transparency, the government has been restricting more information since the leak of 3 UAP videos in 2017. The DoD organization Arrow has been labeling many documents with a B7 exemption, which Greenwald says does not make any sense. They're stating that anything Arrow does is involved in law enforcement investigation, which allows Arrow to not release it. Greenwald says that the DoD has denied the existence of a UAP and ATIP-related records on multiple occasions, only to acknowledge them after an appeal was filed. He added that the Naval Air Systems Command in March 2022 stated they found no additional UAP videos. It seems strange that they had 3, and only those 3, but other requests had been filed by the Black Vault, that's John Greenwald's group, to seek out more places UAPs might be hiding. Then, in September 2022, the Navy admitted that the UAP-related videos and photographs existed, but denied the request in full for their release, saying that the requested videos contain sensitive information that are classified and exempt from disclosure. The DoD will deny things on a Monday and admit to it on a Friday, said Greenwald. He said the government can and does release videos that protect secret methods of capturing it. They fall back on a sensitive platform excuse a lot, he said. However, the on-screen information can be blurred and scrubbed. The metadata can be removed. I'll show you this example here. This is a presentation from the UATP task force. This is completely absurd. It's nuts, this level of censorship, of redaction on a document. It shows the redaction of how many reports they've collected, for how many years. 2 of the 3 potential explanations are blacked out. The Pentagon, the intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would now like to recognize Mr. Gold for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Brockman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, Representative Moskowitz,
Right?
and distinguished members of both subcommittees. I'm grateful to all of you, as well as your intrepid staff, for the opportunity to testify. I would like to begin by discussing courage. Courage is what it takes to tackle this topic, and courage in the face of adversity is what I see in front of me, beside me, and behind me. Per my introduction, I'm currently the Chief Growth Officer at Redwire Space and have had several leadership positions at NASA. That being said, I want to be clear that I'm speaking exclusively on my own behalf and not for Redwire, NASA, or any other organization. However, I am here today to speak out for science. Science requires data, which should be collected without bias or prejudice. Yet, whenever the topic of UAP arises, those who wish to explore the phenomena are often confronted with resistance and ridicule. For example, members of the NASA UAP independent study team, particularly those in academia, were mocked and even threatened for simply having the temerity to engage in the study of UAP. Our best tool for unlocking the mystery of UAP is science, but we cannot conduct a proper inquiry if the stigma is so overwhelming that just daring to be part of a NASA research team elicits such a vitriolic response. Therefore, one of the most important actions that can be taken relative to exposing the truth of UAP is to combat the stigma. And this is where I believe that NASA can be eminently helpful. The NASA brand is synonymous with hope, optimism, and credibility. If you were to take a walk down the National Mall, you would immediately see the NASA logo on t-shirts, hats, and bumper stickers. Few federal agencies enjoy this kind of popularity. I've never seen anyone wearing an Office of Personnel Management t-shirt, which is why NASA could play such an influential role. Specifically, NASA could, with relatively little cost and effort, host symposia on UAP, or even just participate in existing panels examining the topic. NASA personnel stepping forward and participating in such discussions would make a powerful statement to the scientific community that UAP should be taken seriously and researched accordingly. In regard to research, NASA has vast archives, much of which may contain important UAP data. Again, for relatively little cost and effort, NASA could create an AI or ML algorithm that could search the agency's archives for anomalous phenomena. I suspect that such an effort would not only result in information that will help us to understand UAP, but could result in data that will assist in other areas of scientific inquiry, such as anomalous weather or meteorite activity. Beyond its existing archives, NASA could act as a clearinghouse for civilian and commercial UAP data. During my work on the UAP independent study team, it quickly became evident that there is no clear or well-publicized process for civilian pilots to report UAP sightings. The stigma associated with UAP hampers the number of pilots that would report such phenomena, but even for those who overcome the stigma, I believe the current FAA guidance is largely unknown and poorly understood. In order to effectively collect UAP data, the independent study team recommended the use of NASA's Aviation Safety Reporting System, or ASRS. This system, which is administered by NASA and funded by the FAA, provides a confidential means for the reporting of safety violations in a voluntary and non-punitive manner. Over 47 years, the ASRS has collected nearly 2 million...
Want to keep your hairline where it is? Through Hims.com, you can explore a range of options that work best for you, so you can grow visibly thicker and fuller hair in just 3 to 6 months. These mushrooms make you
That's why you
feel
don't update your apps. Double commercials. What the fuck?
Million reports. ASRS is the perfect tool to collect UAP data, which could then be collated by NASA and shared with the public at large. Leveraging ASRS could create a treasure trove of UAP data, potentially hundreds of thousands of reports, supporting this hearing's goal of exposing the truth. And I'm grateful to our 2 co-chairs and other members who have already incorporated this idea into proposed legislation. At this hearing, and as others have demonstrated, the UAP issue is justifiably dominated by national security and defense. However, I would urge the subcommittees to keep in mind the numerous ways that NASA and the FAA, as well as commercial activities in the air, in space, and in the water, can generate a massive amount of invaluable data on anomalous phenomena. I cannot help but be excited by the potential for such an endeavor, since scientific discovery is driven by anomalies. It's the existence and study of anomalies that led to the theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, and nearly all of humanity's scientific breakthroughs. This is why the study of UAPs should be embraced, since whatever is occurring, the chance to garner new knowledge should never be ignored. We must be thorough in collecting information, fearless in making conclusions, and open to following the data, no matter how mundane or extraordinary the results may be. I began this testimony by praising the Joint Subcommittee members for their courage, and I will end by echoing that sentiment. As the saying goes, the truth is out there. We just need to be bold enough and brave enough.
Basically saying there's aliens, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I will now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. I have a lot of questions, And
I have a
will
lot of
allow witnesses,
questions,
so I
too.
just ask if it's yes or no to please just tell me yes or no. If it requires a voting, be very
Are the
succinct because I would like to
aliens-
go down the line and ask as many questions as possible.
Are the aliens
so, for the
either-
admiral this morning first. Former DoD official
Are the
Chris Bowen
aliens
reached out to you
actually
about
like
satellite imagery
fucking
from
flesh and
2017
bone or
of the
flesh
UAP.
and whatever
What were the dates
type
in
of bodies?
2017 when this
Or is
occurred?
it AI
I can't
robots,
share with you
the
the
aliens
details,
and the
ma'am, but I can do it in
UFOs that are
closed setting,
piloting
and I can also tell you that the agency that
whatever's
developed it.
piloting
Okay,
the
so who has the
UFOs?
imagery?
Is
I
it
can tell you that in
artificial
closed setting.
intelligence or is
Can
it
you
an
describe what was
actual like
depicted in the
living
satellite
being?
imagery? Just a description.
It is a UAP, ma'am.
That's it. No other description.
The term that the analysts use, they call it the button. It was a disc-shaped object.
Okay, where was it?
I can't tell you that.
In your butthole.
Okay.
I can't tell you that,
All
man,
right.
because
So,
this is my
Mr.
butthole.
Elizondo, you state in your testimony that, quote, advanced technologies
I got
not by
nothing,
our
right?
government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe, end quote.
So that's the Trump
If these
sign up
technologies
there.
are not made by any government, who's making them? Private companies, or are you implying they are crafted by a non-human intelligence?
Well, ma'am, that's precisely why
Oh,
we're here.
damn, that's a-
The problem
that's a
is,
heavy
totally
question right
speaking,
there.
over decades, not just the last 10 years. Before, to put this in perspective, when
Are
you,
these private companies you're implying, or is this non-human intelligence?
it may be both.
Okay.
When it comes to
Maybe
brute force
both,
technologies, I
okay.
would not be able to discuss.
Okay. Are you read into secret UAP crash retrieval programs?
We would have to have a conversation in a closed session.
Oh, what's
ma'am. I
up?
signed
Richard
documentation
Phillips, you're watching.
3 years ago
You enjoying
that
it,
restricts
Richard
my ability to
Phillips?
discuss specifically crash retrievals. I
You
submitted
got
for
an
my book to the
alien
adoption process,
head.
which took
Oh,
a
wait,
year
hold on.
to be reviewed. And what is in the book is what I was told I'm allowed to talk about.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash
You got the
retrieval
alien
programs? Yes or
head,
no?
then you
Yes.
got another planet.
Okay, were they designed to
then you
identify
got-
and reverse engineer alien craft? Yes or no?
Yes.
I know.
Does the U.S.
A
government have any
satellite,
reverse? Okay, we already answered that
then
question
Richard
about
Phillips
retrieval
looks
programs.
like a flower with a
Do any
dress
U.S.
in the
contractors have the
middle.
same?
I
A
would
bunch of
prefer to address
clouds
it in
of
a closed
smoke
session,
with
ma'am.
a ghost at the
Okay.
end.
In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs placed on leave and receiving
Boys and
government
girls doing
compensation for their
somersaults.
injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And a
How
toilet
can the
with a
government
bunch of
deny we have
triangles.
recovered
So that
craft if they're paying people
lo-fi
because they've been injured by recovered
Tommy.
craft?
Ma'am, that's a
Who
great
the
question.
fuck
That's why
is
I
this
think we're here
lady?
again,
She
because I've seen the
sounds insane.
documentation.
This
by the
is
U.S.
this is
government
a
for
hearing
several
in the
of these
Senate.
individuals
This is
who
in the
sustained
U.S.
injuries
government.
As a result
This
of
is not.
UAP
Yes,
incidents.
I mean it sounds crazy,
Okay,
but
yeah,
what?
right.
You don't think there's aliens
Okay,
out there?
Okay, Mr. Schellenberger.
For sure, there's
I'm gonna say it again,
UFOs.
to be very
There's
clear,
no way we're the
immaculate
only intelligent life
constellation.
in the
What's
entire
its mission,
endless
Harvey?
universe.
Its mission is to, as I stated, its mission is to.
Do you agree?
It's an
Comment if you
unacknowledged
agree.
special access program. Its mission is to document UAPs.
Okay, and do you, for your story and your report, do you have more than one credible source?
I do.
Sourcing, okay.
I do.
And then why do you believe your sources to be credible? How do you judge the veracity of the documentation you've been provided about this program?
Yeah.
I checked the sources, and they are who they say they are. They are current or former government officials.
Oh, yeah,
I want to also add that I did not specify that they were Defense Department employees. I didn't specify the agency nor the gender.
Would they have included non-government employees, people that aren't employed by the government?
These are. I'm comfortable saying that these are government or previously government employees.
Any of them currently employed by a private contractor or private contractors?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
I'd rather not
What's
say.
the key takeaway, just a few seconds, about the Immaculate Constellation document you provided us today?
I think that what the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount.
I don't know about the aliens. The aliens, man. What? Go back. What the hell happened? Hang on. I'm gonna get it working again. See, Daniel Griffin. Hold on, that's what that video we were just on. Who was that we were just on? What was this one right? Hold on. No. That's a login, no. Oh, what the fuck? It had to have been that one I was on. Where it starts at.
Community are sitting on a huge amount
Oh yeah, this is the
of
one that I had
visual
going.
and other information, still photos, video photos,
Like, subscribe,
other
share,
sensor
if it comes up, oh, we got 2
information, and
comments,
they
let's see
have
what
for
they
a very
said.
long time. And it's not
That ain't
those
massive.
fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear
High res.
high resolution.
How many
Daniel
visual
Griffin
graphics,
said,
videos, photos?
on a
I've been
mathematical
told
perspective,
hundreds,
it will be
maybe thousands. I mean, I also wanted to say,
vastly
because there
ignorant
was some
to say
conversation
out
around
of all the
concern
solar
around,
systems with a
the
planet
revealing of
in
these
the gold
materials, revealing the source
blackstone is
collections, but some of
possible
these are
that
shot
we
from
are the
helicopters
only ones.
using
No, I don't think it is. I think
videos
there's
of
aliens
oceans.
flying
I just think
UFOs,
that's
whether they're
absurd
on
that
Earth,
somehow you're gonna be
flying them
revealing
up from
some
deep in the sea,
secret US
or from
technology
outer
by
space.
revealing
I
that
believe in
you
UFOs.
photographed orbs off the coast of Kuwait.
And
Okay,
Ernie
so we have 8 seconds.
Sanchez
Mr. Gold, did
said,
the NASA independent study team
Garrison,
get briefed on what you call
outstanding
OSAP?
for a
Very
reason.
quickly.
I am not
I
voting
flagged
for
the
President
Advanced Aerospace
Biden or
Weapons Systems
Trump. Why
Foundation
Trump's the one you want to
programs,
vote
who
for,
our
man? Why
chair
not?
and our DFO, we did not
It's
get
time
briefed.
for new
But I believe
leadership.
it
What's
was
wrong with
definitely
Trump? Why
worth
you hating
looking
on
into.
Trump?
That was probably the largest UAP
Harrison, what's
review
wrong with
effort
Trump,
ever,
Harrison?
and
Why
I
you
think
hating
it
on
produced a
him?
lot of interesting data, including revealing limits. I don't know if my fellow witness might want he did yeoman's work on it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to turn to Mr. Moskowitz, who will be recognized
This is
for 5 minutes
interesting,
of
right?
questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So, Mr. Gold, you gave a whole diatribe for a couple minutes about UAPs, science, data collection, stigma. A lot of non-believers in all this just
Non-believers, he
ask
says.
a very simple question. Why? Why is it so hard? Right? Like, why are people, anytime they ask, why are they always thwarted? Why are they always judged? Why are they always have misinformation spread? Why is there always retribution? Why is it always met with an ear? What's the why? If it doesn't exist, why is it such a problem?
Why?
I think if
Tell
you
us
go
why.
through the history of science, Representative, it is always difficult for breakthroughs and new information, regardless of whether it's UAP or any other kind of discovery. And in science, we're supposed to be open, but when you break with the orthodoxy of what's believed, whether it's Galileo saying that the Earth doesn't rotate, or the Earth rotates around the Sun, or the Sun doesn't rotate around the Earth, it's always challenging for new beliefs. And the more extraordinary those discoveries, the more extraordinary those new beliefs, it's very difficult. So I think this is natural. There's natural conservatism that when it comes to science, but
Like,
issue
subscribe, share, by
in
the way. Hit
particular
thumbs
has
up.
been very difficult, where, again, even to attempt to study it
It's just
becomes
interesting as hell.
problematic. But every hearing like this, every news report, every video, documentaries, I was privileged to be part of something Dan Fair is putting together. I think many of us have interviewed for it, documentary over 30 different government officials. Every brick in the wall will help get us closer to getting to the truth.
I appreciate that. Mr.
I appreciate that too.
Is that correct?
Everybody be asking me, man, does the Bluetooth actually work? Bro, you get a month for free.
Hate this shit. This is so fucking annoying.
Sure. I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm going to put my hat on for a second. You said you signed a document. Love that. Who gave that to you?
The U.S. government.
Okay, that's you. The U.S.
you have a
government,
copy of
sir.
It is stored in a SCIF right
Shit's
now.
funny.
I do not have possession of it. The U.S. government does.
What department?
I don't got possession of it. U.S.
I will
government
say the
does.
Department of Defense.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I can't say in this forum much more than that.
You specifically said the document said you can't talk about crash retrieval. Well, you can't talk about Fight Club if there's no Fight Club.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just...
First rule of Fight Club, there is no Fight Club. Second rule of Fight Club, there is no Fight Club. The third and final rule of Fight Club is there is no
Correct, sir. It was a limitation on what because already I'd been speaking publicly about the topic, and so the document said you can continue saying X, Y, Z, but you cannot discuss the topic.
When you give me the atmosphere of signing this document. You're in a room by yourself?
I'm in a SCIF with a security officer, sir.
Just one-on-one? Anybody else?
There may have been an assistant as well. It was in a SCIF within a Department of Defense facility.
Give me your background.
Give me your background.
My background is I went to school to study microbiology and immunology, entered into the U.S. Army, and after a very short stint in military intelligence, I became a counterintelligence special agent. As a civilian, later on I became a special agent in charge, running investigations in counterterrorism and counterespionage primarily, with some experience in counterinsurgency and counternarcotics. And then in 2009 timeframe, when I came back to the Pentagon after a tour with the Director of National Intelligence, I quickly became part of a program that was originally called OSAP that evolved into the program now called ATIP, which is where those videos that we now see
the go fast, the gimbal, the FLIR. That was part of our effort, sir.
Right. So you're not some
It's
conspiracy.
interesting
You
as
actually
hell.
have a legitimate background.
Well, sir, I'm certainly not a conspiracy
You're like
theorist.
sure that
I'm
sounds
fact-based, just say facts.
So when you're in this room, I want to paint the picture for everybody. You're in this room, you're by yourself, you're in a skiff, you're handed a document. How long is the document?
It's about a page front and
It's
back.
interesting as hell. The
basically, you
U.S.
have
government
some
lately
things they
admitting
call
that the
trigraphs,
aliens are real.
which I cannot, again, talk
How long were you given to sign the document?
as long as I needed, sir.
And what if you didn't sign it?
Well, I suspect there'd be repercussions. I wouldn't have access to certain information.
Were you allowed to ask a lawyer, or weren't allowed to ask for a lawyer to review the document?
It was an option, but they probably wouldn't have allowed me to, because the document itself is pretty explicit about you have to be, putting me in an interest. Let me try to thread the needle here. There are certain documents that we have in the U.S. government that allow people to have access to certain programs, whether it's a special, and I'm going to be very generic here, whether it's a special access program or a controlled access program, SAP, CAP, whatnot.
How many people have to sign that document?
It depends how many people are going to get access to the information, sir.
Okay. Last question. Doctor, real quick, can you tell us about the Omaha incident in greater detail? I've read your background, right? Some people would label you as a member of the deep state, since you worked in government for a long period of time. But can you tell us more about that incident? You've written a lot about that.
I wrote a lot about incidents like it, Congressman, but that specific incident involved the USS Omaha, the littoral combat ship of the U.S. Navy operating off Southern California. I don't remember the exact date. It was within the last decade. And what the watchstanders on the bridge observed was a UAP, again, something that was aloft but had no observable exhaust or control surfaces. So it was something that couldn't be explained. And then they saw it enter the water from the atmosphere and going through the air-sea interface. And so thus exhibiting transmedium travel.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Grothman for 5 minutes of questioning.
Yeah, we'll start with Mr. Gallaudet. During a previous UAP hearing, Navy Commander David Fravor discussed the TikTok object engaged in 2004. Are you familiar with the incident, the TikTok incident?
Yes, sir.
And that's almost 20 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
It's been said there are more videos, documents, and reports related to this incident. Do you believe the information regarding the TikTok incident should be available to all members of Congress? In your expertise, what reason would the Department of Defense possibly have for not releasing information that's over 20 years old?
Thank you, Congressman. I don't think there's any good reason to withhold information and important data, especially of national security concern, from Congress.
Well, what would they say?
I will speculate, sir, that they don't want to share that kind of information because it reveals weaknesses in our ability to monitor and protect our airspace.
Okay. In your written testimony, you claim last year's UAP hearing before this Oversight Committee confirmed that UAP-related information is, well, it's not only being withheld, but that elements of the government are engaging in a disinformation campaign to include personal attacks designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. Could you elaborate on that statement a little?
Yes, sir. Earlier this year, I met with the DoD's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and what I thought would be a 90-minute meeting just to meet with leadership turned out to be an hours-long influence operation on me, where they attempted to convince me of the validity of the very flawed and error-ridden historical records report. In addition, they tried to have me question very valid UAP reports like the Tic Tac incident, and even coming to stating possibly that the Tic Tac was American technology. And then, of course, if you ask David Fravor or Alex Dietrich, the two witnesses, they were convinced it was otherwise. And then, and they also cast discredit on various UAP whistleblowers and witnesses to question their validity and credibility as witnesses.
Okay. We'll go to Mr. Elizondo. Hope I got that right, or not at least
Close
not
enough,
that
sir.
right. You're familiar with the recent drone incursion over Langley Air Force Base?
Yes, sir.
The owners of these drones remain unclear. The U.S. military has not been able to give us in Congress an answer. Given your experience with the Department of Defense and the intelligence community, how frequently are UAP sightings of our military?
Oh, that's crazy as hell.
And secondly, I suppose hypothetically, you could have
It would cover it, yeah.
incursions over just, say, regular airports. Is it obvious these incursions are more likely over military facilities than just a random airport out there?
Yes, sir. There's definitely enough data to suggest that there is certainly some sort of relationship with sensitive U.S. military installations, also some of our nuclear weapons, and also some of our Department of Energy sites. There is a long historical record that some of your colleagues may have, documentation that demonstrates this. This is not a new trend. This has been going on for decades, and that information's been obfuscated, unfortunately, from folks like you in this committee. And I think that's problematic because ultimately, at the end of the day, we have a significant situation here. We have something that can enter into U.S. airspace completely with no attribution.
That's pretty serious.
Sir, decades, and there's information that will hopefully be entered into the
Can you think of any possible reason why they can't release any information they have on something say 15, 20 years old?
Sir, if I could echo my colleague here, Admiral Gallaudet, I think one of the big issues that we have in the intelligence community and Department of Defense is we don't want to broadcast any potential vulnerabilities or weaknesses in our national defense systems or our intelligence collection platforms. Therefore, when you have a conversation where you address a problem for which there is no solution, it makes that a very uncomfortable conversation to have.
Okay, we'll switch to Mr. Schellenberger. The primary reason you're here today is because you published an article on the news publications you own called Public, right? Alleging that a new unnamed government whistleblower has come forward asserting that a highly classified program exists.
Hit that thumbs up. Here we got a lot of people watching. Like, subscribe, share, hit that thumbs up. Thanks for watching.
What can you give us? What specific evidence?
Is this interesting? Can someone comment? Do they like it?
Or that your source provided you to substantiate the claims about the existence of the Immaculate Constellation program?
Well, you have the report in front of you now, so you can see it for yourself. I checked the report, and I did not find it based on existing cases. It was new cases for me. I hadn't found anybody. So that answered for me that it was not obviously circular reporting, which is one of the big concerns in this space. I also had the name of the program confirmed by more than one additional source. So yeah, and then of course I checked to make
Trump
sure
is our leadership.
Who they claim to be.
Okay.
I should also say that when I said before it was this database, it is a much broader program than that. It also includes human intelligence, and then as you mentioned,
what the fuck is he talking about?
Any knowledge of what country these things originated in?
Or planet, you mean?
No, I have no idea.
What about planet?
Okay, I will now recognize Mr. Burchett for 5 minutes of questions.
Thanks, Chair Lady. I request unanimous consent to enter into the record documents provided to us regarding legacy UAP programs and psychological operations through Elizondo.
So ordered.
Also want to thank my buddy Jeremy Corbell for providing these documents and access to some whistleblowers. Mr. Elizondo, what is your last position with the federal government?
Sir, I was the Director of National Programs, Special Management Staff. An enigma, sir, and a frustration. We're talking about technologies that can outperform anything we have in our inventory. And if this was an adversarial technology, this would be an intelligence failure eclipsing that of 9/11 by an order of magnitude.
It's worse than 9/11, the UFOs you're saying? Or wait, are they very war? What are they just talking about?
Believe could be safely disclosed to the public without compromising national security.
Yes, sir, I do. I would never, ever try to endorse providing some sort of information that could compromise what we call a blue force technology or capability.
So you're admitting you got alien UFO ships, in other words?
And I've been very vocal about it. That should be shared not only with the public, but most importantly, with members of Congress.
Are you familiar with my friend David Grush?
Absolutely, sir.
David Grush.
Privilege and honor of working with him myself several years ago at U.S. Space Force.
Last year,
the Space Force together. That's interesting.
The U.S. has run a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Are there UAP programs operating without proper congressional oversight?
100%.
What are they?
Unfortunately, sir, I would have to have that conversation in a closed session.
I know you said that. A lot of people are frustrated with those kind of answers, but we're asking those kind of questions, so you all know what the heck we're up against. You also mentioned in your opening statement that the Pentagon's Public Affairs Office employs a psychological operations officer as a singular point of contact for UAP-related inquiries. Why the heck would they do that?
Sure, that's a great question. I would ask the Pentagon. There's a long history here of that individual providing misleading and false information to the public through various news outlets and media outlets in order to discredit this topic. I've personally been looking to it. We have the documentation to substantiate where this information has been absolutely inaccurate, that has been provided time and time again, and it turns out that individual was also working with former leadership of Arrow at the time as well.
And we punish them by giving them multi-million dollars more than they ask for every year. Admiral Gallaudet, you mentioned in your opening statement on an email you received from the operations officer of the Fleet Forces Command regarding unknown objects almost colliding with U.S. military planes. Did anyone respond with knowledge of what the objects were?
Those aliens. Comment if you agree. You think those are aliens?
Did the exercise
Do you agree with me? Do you think those were aliens?
Why do you think the commander of Fleet Forces operations officer never discussed the incident again?
Sir, I'm
never discussed this incident ever again, right? That's some freaky UFO
part of the special access program, the information and the video.
You're not going to act like this ever happened.
It was, and he realized he couldn't just share that openly with the recipients of the email. And
watch what my dogs do when I drop food.
I don't give a shit what your dogs do when you drop food.
The Five Below Black Friday reveal coming November 21st.
I regret doing that update, more commercials. Ours is a good update. So it's never good to do updates.
Therefore, the email was pulled from everybody's account.
Again, tell us what happened to the email from the commander of Fleet Forces.
The day after I received it, and all the other recipients received it, which were all the subordinate commanders of U.S. Fleet Forces, so 1- and 2-star admirals, including strike group commanders, the email was wiped or deleted from our accounts, and then no one talked about it.
All right. Have you specifically had any experience with submersible objects?
Sir, I've no personal experience, but I've had witnesses on submarines come to me and say,
like, subscribe, share, hit thumbs up. We'll be right back. We're going to start a new video.
Okay. How would you characterize those?